Okay, so this is my playthrough of Gris. This is a show, or not a show, this is a game that I've played through a couple times and I love it so much. It's beautiful, it's powerful, and I really wanted to share it with you guys. So I decided to create a Q&A as an excuse to do this playthrough. So I'm going to show you guys the opening sequence. We'll watch that together and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the game and then get into the Q&A. So Gris is a game about grief, and there's no dialogue. It's all based around visual cues and the score. It's probably the most gorgeous game I've ever seen. It's all hand-drawn, and it's such a powerful exploration of grief done in a way that is, I think, relatable to pretty much everybody. But also leaves a lot of things up to interpretation, so the individual can take it and apply it however they deem fit. I actually played this game with my son and didn't interpret anything for him, didn't explain anything to him unless he asked, and he had his own interpretations for a lot of these scenes, and it invoked a lot of great conversation between us. And it's also just it was also very impactful for me as well, processing some things. So I really wanted to share it with you guys while we do this Q&A. I hope that you guys appreciate the game too. The first little bit here is kind of the tutorial level, since there's not a lot of direction from the game. It's a more experiential learning. So this first little bit is pretty simple. Not quite as engaging because it's just letting the player kind of get used to the world and get used to the controls before we get into the first proper level. So this part's a little bit more plain, but let's get into the Q&As. The first question is, if you could have a second successful YouTube channel, non-book related, what would it be about and why? I don't have any plans to make a second channel, but if I did in this dream world, it would be a gaming channel. There's a lot of games that I'd love to share with you guys, that I'd love to play through with you guys, and I'd probably do it with my friend Matt, who I've never mentioned this to, so it's very presumptuous of me to say, but we live in different countries. We've known each other for, I think, 11 years, and it'd be swell to meet up over Discord and play games together and hang out more often. So that's probably what I would do for a second channel, but I don't think I could handle 2 channels right now. So another cool thing about Gris, about this game, I don't even know if I'm saying it right, is that because the impact is emotional, the point is what you take from it emotionally. It's a side scroller, a beautiful side scroller, but there's no actual danger of death, which is part of what this tutorial is showing you by having her jump from great heights. It's a puzzle game. There are certain puzzles that you have to figure out, but it's not so exhaustive that it's tedious and you get caught up in stuff for a long time. It's enough that it engages the brain and you have to think through things and you have to sort through things, but I should probably mute that, but without losing the impact of the story. And I don't know, it's easy to play through in one sitting. Okay, another comment. Do negative comments get to you? This is a great question. Yes and no. Yes, because any constructive criticism is hard to hear sometimes. It's not easy to be told, hey, I don't like this thing you're doing. So even comments that are really politely worded are not the easiest to see. Like, it still hurts, it hurts, but I do appreciate it a lot, especially if it's worded kindly. I'll use an example, a really recent example. I posted a video. It was another, top whatever video, and I got a comment that said, Murph, I love your videos, but this sort of thing is getting repetitive. Surely there are more books to talk about. And my first reaction is, well, dude, I can only read so much, like I can only read so fast. I can't just constantly be talking about new things nonstop. And, my first reaction is kind of like, that hurt. I didn't appreciate that. But, like, my first internal reaction, I didn't say that to him. But I actually really appreciate that comment because it made me think, and it made me realize, man, these listicle videos, these like top whatever or recommendation list for a certain topic, like feel-good recommendations or good fantasy for beginners or whatever. These are great to do every once in a while, but I was doing like one a week, and I don't read enough to be able to maintain doing one of these a week without it getting stale. And I appreciated the feedback that it was starting to get stale so that I could start focusing on other things. And since then I've been brainstorming, and I have a bunch of really fun ideas for new types of videos that I want to do. Hang on, I want to watch this. So we've now officially entered red. The way I interpret this is that each stage is one of the 5 stages of grief. So we just went through white, the tutorial phase, which is denial, and now we're into red. Sorry, you might be able to hear my computer. It's really loud right now. We're now into red, which is anger. I love this stage. But anyway, so while, negative comments, and that, I don't know that you would even call that a negative, but, comments like that, they hurt. They're like hurt to hear. But the reality is that I really, really appreciate them because they make me kind of look at my content a little bit more critically and see something that I may not have seen on my own. I may not have seen that, oh, wow, these are kind of like looking back at my listicle sort of videos. They are starting to get kind of repetitive. What's something else I can be doing? And that doesn't mean that I'm never going to do a video like that again, but that maybe one every week is too much right now. And I really appreciate that. Then you have some comments that are, they more make me laugh than they do make me look critically at my content. Like, I got a comment not that long ago. I said in a video, I was holding up, sorry, I was pushing the wrong key. Okay, I was holding up a book, and I was talking about something that I had read, and I said I listened to this on audiobook, and it took me near the whole month to get through it because it was such a long book. And I got a comment saying, you're not fooling anyone by holding up a physical book when you listen to the audio, trying to inflate your numbers or trying to lie about reading a book when you just listen to the audio. Your subscribers would appreciate you a lot more if you were more transparent or you weren't trying to deceive or something like that. And that comment just kind of made me laugh because it's like, I gave you this information. Hold on, I want to watch this too. Sorry, these more beautiful and impactful scenes, I want to give us all the chance to really soak it in, because a part of this, really the only point in this Q&A is an excuse to show you guys this game. But anyway, that it just kind of made me laugh, because it's like, who do you think I'm trying to deceive? I'm the one that told you that I listened to the audiobook. You know what I mean? So there's comments that are funny because it's like, I guess it's just someone who is bothered by something and wants to say something negative just to kind of put me down, or I don't know. So and that one really wasn't even that rude. I mean, it kind of was, but it was more funny than anything. But there are definitely comments where it's people just genuinely trying to tear me down, trying to like say something really mean or accusatory about me. And those comments obviously they can be frustrating, but for the most part, negative quote unquote comments that I get are more in the vein of constructive. It's more in the vein of like, hey, real talk, Murph, this isn't working, or this is starting to be, etc. And sometimes those real talk comments, sometimes they're it's like, oh, okay, well, I get it. I get that not everything that I put out is going to be for everyone, and it's okay that you didn't like this video, but I'm proud of it and I enjoyed it. And sometimes it's like, ooh, good point. I can do better. So this was a really long answer to this, but the question is, do negative comments get to you? And the answer is, yeah, of course they do. They definitely get to me, sometimes more so than others, but I appreciate them when they're with good intentions and presented, kindly. So I love this part of this level, back to talking about the video game, because it's such a great depiction, not only of grief, but of depression and anxiety and so many things. You have this peaceful, chill music, and she's walking along fine, and then the storm hits, and it just knocks her down. And I love this depiction of grief, and it can be, like I said, it can be put over so many different things. It can be relatable to so many different things of just like, I don't know, I guess relating it to myself. I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety lately, within the last, all of 2020. And this is such a great depiction of how I've been feeling, where it's like, the music is calm, I'm making progress, I'm moving, I feel good, I feel fine, I feel happy with my life and with everything that's happening. And then it'll just hit, like just an anxiety attack will just hit and knock me over. And then it'll be gone. And then I'll feel good again. And it's just, and I know that that's how grief feels too, these waves. It'll just hit you in waves and knock you down. And then you'll be able to move a little bit. And I love, love, love that depiction in this game. I think that so much of what this game does is such a powerful representation of what it's trying to do. Okay, have you ever had a time when books weren't able to hold your attention? I go through phases of reading a lot when I'm not reading at all for months. Absolutely, I do. I used to a lot more than I do now, where I would not read for a few months, and then I would read everything that I could get my hands on for a few months, and then I'd not read for a few months, and just back and forth. I get that a lot less now with my channel, because reading is so much of a community activity for me now. It's not a solitary hobby anymore. I buddy read almost everything that I read. I organize opportunities to read, to coordinate reading schedules with other people so that I have people to talk about books with the whole time. I make reviews on books. I read you guys' comments. So I'm constantly interacting with people for reading, which makes reading that much more fun to me. So I get into phases where I don't feel like reading a lot less now than I used to do, because it's so much more fun now. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've always loved reading. I've never in my life disliked reading. And I've always been a very avid reader, but I love it even more now that I can always talk to people about it. It's not like, okay, I finished a book, I have to deal with the emotions myself. I can scream at a camera about my emotions. And that makes it so much more interactive and so much more fun. But that said, even with having a channel, I still go through, weeks or however long where I just don't really feel like reading as much. And it has to be more, I don't know how you guys feel, but this animation to me is very reminiscent of Studio Ghibli. I get so many Studio Ghibli vibes in the intro scene where we got a close-up of her, and then especially in stuff like this. Anyway, what was the question again? I already forgot. Oh, yeah, I definitely go through like a few weeks where it's more like I have to remind myself, all right, Murphy, you should pick up a book. And when I do pick up a book, I'm always happy to be reading because I love reading. It's the most immersive hobby that I've ever experienced. It's something that takes me to a different world, unlike TV or movies can. This game certainly does that. It captures every essence of me. but a lot of games, I don't know, games do that for me too, but books more. But like right now, I'm in one of those moods where it's like I have to remind myself to read, I have to remind myself to pick up a book, and I'm always happy when I do, but it's not something that I'm going to reach for. I'm going to reach for something else first, and I have to remind myself to reach for books, and I think that's normal. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that it's fine to let your hobbies fluctuate here and there, and if it's a hobby that's important to you, and it's a hobby that brings you a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, then you should make time for it and remind yourself to do it, but it's also okay to focus on other things for stretches of time. What jobs have you had before making a career on YouTube? Wow, making a career on YouTube sounds very intimidating. But what jobs have I had before what I do now? Well, I was a babysitter for the whole time that I was in middle school, like a lot of middle schoolers were. So this is something that happens in every single level. After she goes through certain trials and after she gets to a certain progress point, collects enough orbs, then she gains a new ability. And that new ability helps her to get through the rest of the stage, to get through these emotions. So now she's a little bit stronger, and now she can fight through the storm without getting knocked over. And I just think it's so beautiful. Gosh, it's like the first time I played this game, when I first saw her like that and walking through the storm, it gets to me, like it's so impactful. Anyway, what were we talking about? Jobs. I was a babysitter in middle school, and then as soon as I started driving when I was 16, I started working for a chiropractor as a receptionist. And then from there, I started working at an assisted living home. And I was a waitress at an assisted living home for a while, which was awesome. I got to see the same residents every day and serve them food and hang out and chat with them. It was really, really sweet. From there, I was a receptionist at a different chiropractor's office. And then I was a counselor at this school in California, which is actually where I met my husband, or how I met my husband. But yeah, and then from there, I was a chiropractor. I was a receptionist, a chiropractor after that school thing. And then I was a receptionist at a children's clinic. And then I was a receptionist at a dentist office. I did a lot of reception work, man. That was apparently my niche. And not that I particularly loved the job, but it was something that I kept doing. I guess familiarity. I moved around a lot. I've lived in, 4 states, I think. 4, is that right? Anyway, I've moved around a lot, and every time I move, I just always end up as a receptionist, it seems, which is fine. I like it. Oh yeah, I was in housekeeping for a while too. But then I was a receptionist at a dentist when I first started this channel, and that's what I did for the first like 4 years of it. And yeah, now here I am, and this is my favorite thing that I've done, easily my favorite thing that I've done. Not that I ever expected this to turn into any semblance of a job. Actually, when I started my channel, I didn't even know that making money on YouTube was an option. That was a very new thing to me, but I love it. This part with the fans, I mean, the fans are all over, but they're especially prevalent in this part of this level. It's one of my favorite things about this game. I think it's so beautiful. I love the sound effects for it. Just every little element of this game is so beautiful. I don't think there's any point in breaking these at this point in the game. I think it's just kind of one of those experiential, like, you're gonna have to break things eventually, so let me show you that you can break things now so that you can get used to it before you actually need it. But I like to break them anyway. Like I said, I played this game for the first time with my son, and he loved these clock elements. He loved that we were fixing clocks, and he wanted to see all the different types of machinery that we were working on. My son's really into, he's really into mechanics. He actually has been watching these mechanics YouTube videos lately that are like, it's just this guy in a monotone voice explaining how things work, like how seatbelts work and how cars and boats, and just, it's very visual. He has a lot of like showing the mechanics of things, but he's also very boring to listen to, and my son just loves those videos. A lot of people asked how the adoption process is going, which I posted this community tab, and then after I posted the community tab, I had a video come out shortly thereafter where I talked about the adoption process a little bit. So I don't know if people are still interested in a little bit more information, because I kind of talked about it a little bit in that video, Anything But Books tag. But how's it going? The answer is it's going great. I haven't done an updated video yet. I'm waiting until we're at the tail end of the adoption, until we're like right about to bring our child home. I don't know why I'm waiting that long. Everything still feels so incomplete. So it doesn't feel like it's time to make a video updating everybody about it yet, but it's going great. It's a hard year to adopt in, with 2020 things shutting down and a lot of layoffs happening in the government as well as everywhere else. So everything's slow right now. You know, you have a ton of paperwork that you need to do, that you need to get done, and then you have to send it off somewhere to be approved, and then you do a bunch more paperwork, and then you send it off to be approved. And with a lot of branches in the government, they have like half the people working there but the same amount of work, so everything's taking a lot longer than you really want it to. But even with that being true, our adoption process has actually moved at a great pace. Your average adoption usually takes anywhere from 2 to 4 years to complete. That's what it says online. That's the estimate that they gave us at the beginning too. I think 2 years is probably the more common time frame, more so than 4 years, but I've known families that have taken longer than 4 years. There's a lot of factors for how long it'll take, and a lot of those factors you don't have any control over. But anyway, despite the fact that this is a hard year to adopt in a time, I mean, it's 2021 now, I keep saying 2020, but it's barely 2021. Despite that it's not the ideal time to be adopting. Everything has still been moving so smoothly. My mom has been a huge help. She used to work at a nonprofit where they would, adoption's really expensive, and families will apply for grants from nonprofits to get some financial help to adopt. And my mom used to work there, and she'd go through all the paperwork, and she'd, see the different families and help determine who gets grants. And because of that, she's very familiar with a lot of the adoption process, and the adoption process is exhaustive. It's exhausting. It's more than I could possibly explain to you. And so she's been a massive, massive help with going through the paperwork and interpreting all the different things that we need to do and making sure that we're hitting every tiny little step, which means that everything's going, which means that everything's going faster than you would expect. So we have been placed with a child. We have her pictures. We have a couple of videos of her, which usually things have actually gone kind of out of order for us. Usually you're placed with a child, and then very shortly thereafter you get to bring your child home. But things went pretty out of order for us just because we went in the roster to be placed with a child before we completed all of our paperwork that needs to be processed before you're able to bring your child home, which is normal. But then we got placed with this child very, 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 very quickly because I don't want to go too deep into it because I want to protect her privacy. But she has a rare condition, and I guess got passed by a lot because of that condition. So we accepted her, of course, and I had to meet with a specialist and learn a little bit about her needs and stuff. And through that, because of that, I mean, not because of anyway, because of our unique circumstances with this, we are kind of doing things out of order a little bit. So we have pictures of our daughter, but we can't bring her home yet until all the paperwork has been approved by the government. So it's all been submitted, but, I need one more orb. Okay. It's all been submitted, but we're just waiting on the government to make the final approvals so that we can finally bring her home. So we're hopeful that will happen within the next few months, but we don't know, because a lot of it, all of it is out of our hands at this point. It's just dependent on how quickly the paperwork can be approved and the court dates can be made. And, hopefully it'll be within the next few months. That's what, that's what our fingers are crossed for. Be free, little guy. But the answer is the adoption process is going very well. I don't know if an adoption update is even really necessary at this point, because I kind of just told you everything there is to know. But I'm itching to meet her, properly meet her. I can't wait. I just absolutely can't wait. Your videos always make me happy and feel warm inside. Is it difficult to remain that positive that consistently? Do you have an in real life persona and a camera persona? This is a great question because, no YouTuber, you can't know somebody with some sort of presence where you see them on a screen. You can't know them completely just through their videos, no matter how transparent and honest with you that they are. You still can't know someone through a screen like you can know them in real life. So this is a very reasonable question. And what you see from me is absolutely genuine. What you see from me on camera is an honest representation of who I am, but it's also only an honest representation of a part of who I am. I almost exclusively talk about books on my channel. I mean, I do talk about other things sometimes. I've spent a lot of time talking about Avatar. We're talking about games and anything right now. But I have to go up. It's only one thing, one part of my interest and one bit of me. And while I feel really passionately about books and I love talking about books, it's still not as much of my personality as you would get if you hung out with me in person. So, do I have a camera persona and an in real life persona? I would say no. I would say that the persona that you see of me on camera is totally authentic, but at the same time, if you knew me in real life, it would be different because you would see a lot more of me. You know, people are more complex than that one side that you can possibly show in a one-sided kind of interaction. Does that make sense? So part of it is me being, is it difficult? Yeah, that's the question. Is it difficult to remain that positive constantly? Oh, that's a loaded question. You know, I am a relentlessly optimistic person, but that doesn't mean that I'm always happy. It means that I choose to expect great things from my life, even when things are not easy at the time. But it's also a very authentic. It would be inauthentic for me to pretend like I'm always happy or always cheerful, because I'm not. You know, like, life is hard. I don't know if I answered that very well. So we've now completed red, and we're entering into green, which is actually my favorite level. So she's gotten through 2 stages of grief now, if I'm interpreting this correctly, which it's open to interpretation. So according to my interpretation, she's gotten through 2 stages of grief now. And green, I think is my favorite level, either this one or the last level. So I didn't get through a huge ton of comments in this, but my goal is I want to do a full playthrough of this game. I want to be able to take you guys through the whole thing. So next week there will be another video in this world where I'm hanging out with you guys and just chatting. So please leave some more comments in the comment section of this video. Other things that you'd like to chat about, like to discuss while we continue to play through. I hope you guys will keep playing through because this is such a powerful game, and even if you're not interested in the themes, it's beautiful and the score is gorgeous, and I hope you guys enjoy hanging out in this different kind of way. But I'd also love to see your interpretations in the comments of this game, of how you've interpreted a few of the things that you've seen, what your first impressions are getting through red. Yeah, I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.